Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Whitty here. I'm here to talk to you today about how to install Netbeans so that you can complete the work in the course. So to do this, there's two files that we need to download. The first file we need to download is the Java docs, and the second file that we need to, or the Java SDK, I guess it's called, and the second file that we need to download is the Apache Netbeans, the actual Netbeans project. So I'm going to start off by downloading Java. And so to do that, I'm just going to open up my web browser. And really the best thing to do is just go in and do a Java SDK download. All right, and once you get to the website, it'll come up, it'll bring you the Java downloads from Oracle. That's where we want to go. We click on that link and it brings us to the Java downloads. And you'll notice down, if you kind of scroll down a little bit, you'll see that it says Java 17 is available now. That's most likely the development kit that you want to download is the Java 17. If you scroll down a little bit, here are the downloads associated with the JDK 17. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll notice there are a whole bunch of different types of downloads. But be careful because right now we are in Linux. You'll notice the little green bar underneath Linux. There's Mac OS. You can download it for Mac if you're using a Mac at home, or Windows. We want to choose Windows, and we want to choose the Windows installer. That's what we want to use in order to install the JDK. So I'm going to click on that. We're going to download that file. Once it's downloaded, we're going to click on it to install it. Okay, yes, we want this device to be able to make changes, and it's going to go through the installation process. So there's a wizard that comes up. We click Next. You want to leave it as the default because it will install it in the proper location. The reason that you want to keep it down at this default is it just makes it easier when you're installing Netbeans. If you change this path, sometimes it's difficult and Netbeans can't actually find it. But if you leave it at this, in your program files, it will generally find the JDK, and then you'll have no problems with Netbeans. So we just click Next, and it will go through the installation process. Okay, once you get to this part, the installation is complete. You could click Next Steps and look at some of the documentation, the guides, things like that. That's not a bad place to look at, but again, it's not necessary for our purposes. We just want to get it installed. So we're going to click Close, and now the JDK is installed. So our next thing that we want to do is we want to install Netbeans. So if you type into a search box Apache Netbeans, okay, welcome to Apache Netbeans. We want to click on that. And again, you'll notice that the latest release is 12.6. That's most likely the one that you want to download. You can download previous versions, but I think we're going to stick with 12.6 for this. So right at the very top of the page, we'll click download. If not, you can click on the download button at the top right. We're going to click on download. And again, you've got options for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. So depending on what you want to use, you're going to download and install the proper file. I'm using a Windows device, so I'm going to download and install the Windows version. It comes to a place that suggests, some different sites that you might want to use in order to download it. I'm just going to choose the first one. We're going to download Apache 12.6. It's going to download that program. All right, once the download is finished, you want to click on the exe file, or the executable file, sorry, and it will start to install Apache Netbeans on our computer. Again, yes, we want this app to make changes to our device. We click yes, and it will go through the Apache installer. When you get to this screen, it talks about some, you can customize the size of the install. So if you don't, for instance, want some of the other things, if you need a smaller footprint, you could get rid of HTML5. You could get rid of PHP. Those things are not necessary for this course. But you do want to make sure that you have the base IDE, the Java SE, and the Java EE. Those three things you should probably have just to make sure that you've got everything that you need. Again, the last two things, HTML5, JavaScript, and PHP, you don't really need. You can customize that to shrink the size of the overall installation, but I don't need to do that. In this case, I'm going to install the whole thing. So I just click Next, agree to the license agreement, click Next. And here's where that installation of the JDK first was important, because it looks for the JDK in your program files. So you can see here, We saved it in C program files. Netbeans, when it was installing, found that JDK and it uses that path so that it knows where to get the Java document. So it knows where to actually get that development kit. So that's really important that you install the Java development kit first before you install Netbeans, so that you're not running into this problem. You can have it checked for net updates or not. I leave that checked just in case something comes up, but you don't really need to. But let's just leave it at that. And now it will finish the installation of Netbeans. Okay, once it is completely finished, you'll notice this setup complete, and then it tells you that where you can actually access the information. So we click finish. We're going to close out our thing, and now we have Apache NetBeans 12.6 installed on our computer. You can see it here. It's also in the Start menu. There it is there, and it should also be under your A's. There's Apache NetBeans. There's a folder. We drop down that folder. We have an Apache NetBeans 12.6 here. When we run it, just to make sure that everything is good to go, so we've run the program just to make sure everything's good to go, and the best thing to do is to actually click this little icon for starting a new project. We click on new project, and as long as you have all these different kind of project types, the categories of projects, you're okay. And the key one is this Java with Ant. That's what we're going to be using mostly, and we're going to be developing Java applications. We click next, and as long as we've installed everything, and here it's saying that it needs a specific library, we're going to click, we'll highlight that, we'll click download and activate. So anything it asks you to create, you're probably going to want to download and activate. We're going to install that plugin. All right, so we are, we're creating our first Java application. I'm just going to say test app really quick, just to try and test the program. Make sure you're choosing the proper location, but I'm going to be talking about this in a subsequent video, so no worries about that. I'm just going to use the default right now. We'll talk about that in a minute. I just want to make sure that I can actually get this thing running. So I'm going to create my new project just to make sure that everything is installed properly. And if it is, I should get to a screen where I actually have my new application sitting here, which is exactly what I'm looking for. You'll notice my screen's probably a lot bigger than yours, and that's because I usually use this computer to present with, and I want people to be able to see it really big. So as long as you get the class and the main method coming up, we're good to go. Everything looks like it's running just fine. So that's how you install NetBeans on a computer, on your own personal computer. So thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll be able to see that next video coming fairly soon.